Please accept our appreciation for your great friendship and take a bow. My name is Greg Hazarabedian. I've been asked to be the MC of sorts by the family. I know many of you. For those who I don't know, greetings. All of you have fond memories of Barry, or you wouldn't be here. All of you are filled with love for Barry, or you wouldn't be here. I can look out and feel the love from what I'm seeing. Some of you may want to express thoughts or reminiscences or whatever you'd like to about Barry, and we've reserved some time to make that happen. What Susie has asked is that we ask for family of Barry to come up here first to make sure we don't use up all our time and deny family members a chance to speak if so.
Really, I should, because I'm Jim Forty. I'm the oldest of the clan. I'm the standard bearer, such as it is to be born.
I got your back.
You always do, sir. That's the beauty of you. Really, but without getting too emotional, which is too easy to do. Lord knows I've done enough of it over the last 18 months, ever since February of 2000. It's been a tough number to accept the fact that Barry went down the way that he did, because he was the epitome of love, of giving, of grace, of charm. He had his idiosyncrasies, but they were all positive. They were all things that worked in the right direction for the betterment of all of us. In whatever pieces of whatever we can emulate that is so much a part of him will do so much more for us well into the future, to say the very least. Barry was just an incredible guy. And yeah, we had our issues growing up. I mean, I lost most of my teeth to him. And gained more than a few stitches and a few other things too, in the name of love and giving. But hey, it all hit him big time in the end, and that's what counts the most. We were able to come together, we stayed together, and we've supported each other through the years in ways that are just incredible. And he is an ace, an angel, and all the other adjectives you can dream of. He covers them all and covers them all well. So all I can say is, for those of you who knew him, you were blessed, you were charmed, you were great. And for those of you who heard about him, what else can I say? Except that he is what he is. So keep him in your prayers. Keep the memories that he put forth in the actions that you take, and we'll all be richer and better for the experience. Thank you for your time.
And right now it would have been Barry. The next one after that is Steve, who is videotaping instead. He's behind the camera. And then there's me, then there's me, Maureen, and I was the fourth one, and Janet was the fifth one.
I was kind of the afterthought. There's like a big gap between me and...
10 years later, as my mom would say, it was God's will. It wasn't an accident, it was God. So anyway, it was great, because I always wanted a sister, and that's not what I was going to say up here. Jim spoke so eloquently about Barry, and I was going to say Barry has such wealth, and it might not be in crypto coin or regular currency, but it's all of his friends and family, and we've known that all our lives. Friends actually came first, family was second, but it's okay.
He would come home, he would see his friends. Oh yeah, there's family too.
Yeah, he saw us, friends were just his
Friends
life.
were his family.
It was his lifeblood, and it was, so he had such wealth, he had such richness, and all of you, and just all your presence here shows that, and all the people that wanted to be here that couldn't be here. So we really appreciate that and hold him close in our hearts. I have 3 children, and if you talk about memories that come back and visions, I remember when I asked him to come out and watch them while we went out. My husband Arnold, who's the guy that was up here with Jim, went out we were going out of country, and Arnold and I asked Barry if he would come watch our kids, and he jumped at the chance. I didn't know how much he loved kids, but jumped at the chance and came out. And my vision is when we came home after about a week, you know, you're always worried about how it's going to go with the kids and your brother, and like what's he going to say about how bad I did as a parent. But anyway, come home and they're all cuddling with him on the couch, and it was just like, oh my God, you know, Bear, you know, the lover with them, you know, bear hugs and all, and they always remembered him with just kindness. I don't know if they want to say anything or not. No, they're just gonna sit there. That's okay. But yeah, I keep him in my heart. I'm starting to talk to him now. I think he's all over for us. We all have a piece of him. So Janet has something to share.
All right, oh gosh. All right, so,
She brought something with her.
all right, so this is the easy one. So, all right, obviously our folks are not with us. His dad passed away, our dad passed away.
2014.
So, but I have his watch, which is gonna go to his grandson. But this is the watch that he wore every single day. It has all of his energy because he wore it every single day. And Barry was a carbon copy of his dad. He had all of the charm that his dad had. He had all of the charisma. I mean, it's just like any place Barry was, that's where he wanted to be. Everybody wants to be where Barry is. And it was the same way with his dad. Wherever Jack was, that's where everybody wanted to be. He could charm anything. Anyway, so his watch, our dad's watch is here. It's like a piece of his dad is here. And I'm wearing our mom's necklace that she wore to every event. It was like something that she seemed to wear to every kind of event. So I sort of feel like, okay, his folks are here too, to just kind of give their little blessing. So,
And his mom is still alive. She's 96. And today she actually just went to the hospital, but we're crossing our fingers that all will be
because she
well.
wanted to make sure that we remembered. she wanted everybody to know that she's here.
Yeah. So we're gonna have one other.
Okay, all right, so child services people. So because there was such a big gap between us, he was of course my babysitter because he's 15 years older than me. So, you know, here I am about, I don't know, 4 or 5. And like I said, Barry, everybody wants to go where Barry is. I wanted to go with my big brother. He wanted to go someplace I wanted to go to. So he tied me up with a bandana. He tied my hands. And he said, no, I gotta go. You stay here. And he tied me up. But I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't really super tight. But sick. Anyway, by the time I got loose, he was gone. He was gone. I was heartbroken. So I feel kind of like he did this again. He did this again. He left. He left and he left me here. I feel like, what the heck? That's all. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here.
Sister-in-law Mary Ann, and so we're from Susie's family, and we're here today to honor Barry's memory. And we're so thankful that the rest of you could be here with us to spend some time to remember all the love and beautiful times that we got to share together. I had the pleasure of knowing Barry for the 20 years that I've known Peggy, and he was a wonderful brother-in-law, was always super welcoming, and he was not afraid to let you know when he wasn't happy about something that was going on. And he let me know, but he never held a grudge. And that's something that I'll take with me as a lesson that Barry taught me. Just because things aren't going just the way you want them, tomorrow's another day. And things like that. So this is my wife, Peggy.
I do not like speaking in public. This is a miracle I'm up here. I remember the first time I met her, and I just fell in love with that guy immediately. And it makes me cry because I miss him so much. that father figure for me, and I feel so incredibly thankful and blessed that he came into my life and my family's life, and my sister got to be with this guy that was, like, to me, one of the most amazing guys. So I miss him, and I'm really glad you guys are all here, and I hope you're crying too.
This is going to be hard for me also, I'm not a speaker, but I am Mary Ann. I was married to Susie's brother. And I got to know Barry when I was working at the sheriff's office. Barry was working for child welfare. Barry would come in and get, information reports. And it was always, the sweetest guy in the world. And I was lucky to meet Susie's brother. And then we all became family. And that was one thing, is we would have these dinners that ended up being enough, food to, feed 4 armies and 12 other places. And then we would have our family retreats once a year to the coast. And we always had a blast. And we would eat all weekend long. We would play Mexican Train all night long, all weekend long. But it was, and then when Nell started getting sick, and Barry was always so sweet, and he would say, whatever you need, I will help. But we were, Nels and I were pretty stubborn. But Barry took on the chore of the 3 a.m. airport shuttles to Eugene, and it was, and Barry, forever grateful for Barry and Suze. Anyway, great guy, miss him dearly. So,
Thank you.
Hey, Jackie Lee, where you going with my money? You better get yourself on, girl. This is money now.
Barry and I and other friends of ours went on quite a few trips together. When we were younger, they were mostly camping trips, but as we got older, they changed to become golf trips. And I'll just tell you one incident from one trip. We usually had about eight people on our golf trips. People who had known each other for many, many years. People that some of them I had known since I was in 2nd grade. And the usual schedule was that we would get up quite early, maybe at 7 o'clock, and have a coffee and then play golf all day, and then come back and cook dinner. And usually one of us was responsible for cooking dinner on a particular day, and we would bring food with us that had been planned or cooked in advance. And like any group, there was a range from people who were fairly casual about things and people who were more on the rigid side. And as those of you who know Barry probably would guess, that he was on the most casual end of our spectrum, and that's exactly where he was. And occasionally this led to trouble. And so one time we're driving home from golf, and it might have been 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. I don't really remember the time. And Barry says, well, I would like to stop at a store and get a pair of sunglasses. And those of us who know very well, this raises a red flag. Because probably those of you who know him know that one of the things Barry loved was meandering. And if you let him loose in a large store, it could be very difficult to retrieve him. And as luck had it, we came across a Target. So Barry says, I'm just going to go in for a couple minutes, you know. So we're parked in the parking lot, and it's a really hot, sunny day. And there were several of us who were not confident that this could be done in a minute. And so it turned out that at the other end of the parking lot across the street, there was a Dairy Queen. And so one person says, actually this was Mark, one of our gang, and Mark said, you know, we should really go over to that Dairy Queen and wait in the shade and have ice cream rather than wait for Barry to shop. And we did have our most rigid person who really didn't like that idea, because he could see that the schedule was falling apart and that we were not going to get home in time to cook a decent dinner, and that you know, you could just see that things were crumbling. And so then a second person whose name is Rich said, hey, yeah, that's a great idea, let's go get ice cream. And so we all decided to go over to Dairy Queen and get ice cream, except one person, his name is Pat, who is the person who usually schedules our golf games, our tea times, and is a person who is kind of rigid, but in a positive sense. He has a lot of preferences, but if you allow him his preference, he'll make the arrangements, and he'll be kind of like the group leader. And so Pat said, no, I'll just wait here in the car. And that was not a popular decision, because it was really hot and sunny, and it was miserable sitting on this big parking lot in the car. So he was left by himself. So we go and eat ice cream. Of course, there's no sign of Barry. And I thought, well, I'll get an ice cream for Pat too. And we come back after maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes with our ice cream. And I said, hey Pat, I got you an ice cream, and he didn't want it. He was pretty angry. So then, after a time, we searched for Barry and retrieved him, and we got on home. So then the story ends the next morning. Pat says, listen, you guys, if you want to go on the golf trip, then that's great. But if you want to shop, stay home and shop with your wife.
I was thinking about how far back it was, and it's nearly 60 years. It was last December. It was a snowy morning, and Barry and his brother Steve was putting their sled and saucer and knocking on my back door. There goes sledding nearly in our backyard. There was a new subdivision built. They just moved in, and it was a perfect day for 10, 11-year-olds to go sledding. And so we went out, I got my boots on, and we headed out to our little sledding hill to go sledding. And from then on, it was like Barry was egging Steve on to go down the hill in his saucer. That big brothers often did to their little brothers. So this is my first experience with the Fortes. So he got Steve to go down in his saucer. The problem was that the hill had a lot of moguls in it. So the first time Steve went down, it was kind of like, if you remember the Wild War of the Sports, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, as Steve would be flying through the air, hitting mogul after mogul after mogul. So after the morning of sledding, it was like this is going to be interesting, introduction to the Forte family. And I should stop right there. Because I'd probably say too much. Pardon? So, thank you.
Yeah. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Mark Cummings, Mike Army, Phil Green, Bruce, and myself. We probably have known Barry since, well, like Army said, since fourth grade, so we've known him a long way. And first of all, I want to thank Susie for putting this all together. You know, we really, really appreciate it. And anybody that knew Barry was lucky, right? We were all super, super lucky. And I know he wants this to be a celebration, and I'm glad it is, right? You know, I think we'll all get a little emotional about it, but I was just thinking of all the things that the firsts that I did with Barry. We, Army, the four of us were all on a basketball team in grade school, right? And we had a pretty successful team. In seventh grade, Barry beat me out for the starting spot on the basketball team. And I was like, this is so much. But you couldn't be mad at Barry because he's just such a wonderful guy, right? And as luck would have it, somebody else left, and I got to start, and he got to start, and we all played together. Played the entire season, didn't lose a game. And Barry wasn't the highest scorer, but he's what you call the glue guy. He was the glue guy. He's the guy that put us all together, that kept us all together. And just such positive energy. I don't think we had the best talent, but we sure had the best team and teamwork. And that's what I see here, is what a wonderful guy, what a guy that could bring us all together. And trust me, when we talk about politics, you know, Barry was I might have been a little further left or right, but I might have been over here. It didn't matter, right? I mean, we were friends. You know, I never had a brother. I had two sisters, but and Steve and you know, Steve and Jimmy and Maureen and Jan, you're so lucky, you know, to have him as a brother, because if I had a brother, that's who I would have been, right? And that's what I felt was my brother. So, you know, I was his roommate in college, and that was fun. He wasn't the greatest student that I've ever seen, right? And as Bruce indicated, he did tend to meander, right? Was not exactly always on point, but you know, he got things done, not the way perhaps I would have done them, but he was very, very effective. He was the first guy that I got drunk together with. Does everybody know Barry got arrested twice? Not once, but twice. Really? Oh yeah. Well, the first time, and Bruce was there, he can attest to this if you need a reference. We were on one of our famous camping trips up in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and Barry said, hey, there's a friend of mine that is having a party. Why don't we go visit the party? And we didn't have anything to do, so in Illinois at the time, if you were in Illinois, the drinking age was 21, but in Wisconsin, it was 18, or vice versa, I don't recall which. Anyhow, we ended up convincing somebody to buy us beer, and went to the street party with this person that Barry knew, and we just went out there and drank at some country road for a while, and we decided at 2 o'clock in the morning, right, to drive back home to our campsite, and we had picked up this girl that Barry knew from high school. And, you know, Bruce's car, I mean, we were struggling, and the trunk
didn't open. The key didn't work to get into the trunk, so we just put the cooler in the back seat, right? And the girl that was with us, she actually back then had marijuana, right? Which, you know, back in the 1960s was, you know, akin to heroin. So, but we, you know, she didn't know anything about the beer. We get pulled over by the cops. We get dragged in this little tiny town, Hebron, Illinois, and yep, 4 of us get booked for underage possession of alcohol. And the police officer asked the girl and said, "Did you know anything about the alcohol?" And she said, "No." And she got but the rest of us got booked. So that was the first time Barry got arrested. The second time he got arrested was, does anybody know where Milwaukee is? Milwaukee, Oregon? So I probably am somewhat, well, Steve is probably the most responsible for having him out here in Oregon, but I'm probably the second most responsible because after we got out of college, none of us had jobs. We were all, you know, it was the 70s and whatever. I drove a bus for the Chicago Transit Authority. Our other friend did the same thing, and we all worked, saved up a couple of bucks. We bought a Econoline van for $150, $600 completely. Took a road trip on October 12th and October 10th, 1974, and said, you know what, I've never been past the Mississippi River, let's go explore the United States. And so we did. So the first trip was up to see Bruce up in Michigan, or up in Minnesota, and then we went all throughout the country. And we came from the Rockies, we did the whole trip, and then down to Seattle, and we drove through Oregon. And Barry fell in love with Oregon. And he fell in love with, I'm not sure if we went to Roseburg or not, but he sure loved it here. And he says, you know what, I'm gonna live here someday. And that was the first time he got here. Now, when we were driving through, my cousin lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we were just living out in the van. So any friendly face, we'd stop, and that's where we'd stay. We went to everybody remember Sambo's? Maybe some of the other folks, but that was a restaurant, and we, of course, were playing pool till 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were drunk, and we went into Sambo's and had pancakes or something, and we were being, I'd say, let's just call it friendly with the waitress. I mean, we weren't harassing her or anything. Probably wouldn't pass too great now. But anyhow, we were having fun, and we gave her a nice tip, and we left. And then all of a sudden, we're driving down the road at, again, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we see a squad car. The lights go big, and all of a sudden, it's 1 car, police officer, and then it's 2, and then it's 5, and it's 6, and it's like, what the heck is going on? And Barry was driving. He always liked to drive. He was the guy. And so the cops said, pull over, and then they said, driver, stick your hand out the window and drop the keys to the ground. And Barry said, this ain't no traffic ticket. And he was right. So he dropped his keys to the ground. Of course, it was Oregon, and it was raining, right? So we all got out. All the police officers had their guns drawn, and they were ready to, well, I mean, if anybody did anything stupid, they were ready to take care of things. But we all kept our heads, we walked back, and apparently they handcuffed us, put us in the squad car again, so it's our second trip. And then what happened was the waitress came by and she noticed and said, no, these aren't the guys. Apparently 2 of us had walked out to the van, 2 of the guys went to the bathroom, and in the meantime, somebody robbed the Sambo's, and it looked like the 5 of us were together. And so we had to, here we are sitting wet, we're laying on the curb, we're all handcuffed, we're going, what's going on? And sure enough, thank God, the waitress came back and said, no. So that was the second time. But he was innocent. So, just another Barry story. Yeah, it was great. So, I don't want to hug the mic, but I will say that Barry was probably the world's first safe space for us all, right? Yeah. He was the guy that you just couldn't help but love. And I loved him, and I know everybody here loved him. And I'm gonna miss him terribly. And we were supposed to grow old together. Shut up. And we were supposed to grow old together, and we didn't. And that's unfortunate, but you know what? We're gosh darn lucky that we had the years we did. And God bless you all, and God bless Barry. Thank you.
And that guy loved kids, and as a caseworker, I had this very hard-boiled teenager that I was taking to a residential placement, and I needed to finish up some paperwork for some of my homework. And so we do all that and get the kids' stuff all stuffed into this government-issued Prius, right? So we got this little hard-boiled kid who wants to jump out of the car, and me, and a whole bunch of stuff in this Prius. And the kid turns to me and he says with this little soft voice that I'd never heard from him before, he says, "Man, I wish that guy was my dad." And I'm thinking, yeah, I wish he was my dad. I just said, yeah, you do. But, you know, he was a great guy. I met him in 2007. And the first thing he said to me as a green worker, he said, "You know about the rule in the kitchen?" I'm thinking, oh man, you gotta clean up after yourself. No. No name, fair game. Talking about the refrigerator, right? So I don't think I've ever seen him really buy lunch, but you know, he was always pretty good fun. Love that man. And the other thing is I bought this Italian pasta maker. Look, my name's Pierre. I know nothing about pasta. And I said, you know, I can't make this thing work. I kept trying all kinds of, maybe I need to go to, Bob's Red Mill or something. No, he brings me a bag of Italian pasta flour and makes my pasta machine work for me. It was like, are you kidding me? Who is this guy? And that's the kind of guy he was. He loved our kids, all of them. He didn't care how hard-boiled they were. He loved them, and he just was big. He filled the room. He just was a personality. And I don't think any of us here who knew him will ever forget him.
A long time. He was already a very well-seasoned worker when I arrived there, and he was very kind in the way he helped me become a better worker and understand the work that we were doing and the children and the parents with whom we were working. One of the things I always loved him for is how much care, how much respect, and how much hope, love, and kindness he shared of himself. But I have a refrigerator spare too. I would buy a sandwich or bring a sandwich on one day and only eat half of it and put my name on it in the refrigerator and save it for the next day because I needed that much to eat. And so he worked late and I worked sometimes late, but not as late as he did. So we had a lot of good talks during that late time. And I can still remember his laugh flowing through the office and the wisdom that he shared with me. But I came to work on several occasions expecting that I already had lunch there for that day, my other half, the sandwich. And I would go to my desk in the morning and there would be a sticky note there, scrawled across the sticky note would say, "I'm sorry I got hungry, thank you for the sandwich." So he never stole it, but he always accounted for it. Which was way better than another fellow who worked in our office who anything was fair game, name or not. So we would laugh about that fellow too, but Barry was always very upright and honest in his helping us share with him, and then he was sharing with us, and I love it.
They're 1%. Mary was pure joy, and Susie is pure serenity to me. And every time Barry would come to my office, he always acted like he had nothing else to do except for talk to me. And I so appreciate everything that he gave to me. I would run into him at the gym or in my office or anywhere. He did love to meander. I would see him in the grocery store. And one day with Barry was a lifetime of joy. And so I feel like every minute I had with him gave me a lifetime of joy. So I don't know what else to say, and I forgot my thank-yous. I have thank-yous. But thank you, Susie, for bringing Barry into my life. But every time I think of him, I think of you. And you're one person. And I love you both dearly.
So Barry told me to do this. I would usually have a guitar with me. I didn't plan on doing this, but like I said, Barry told me to do this. And I think part of it is all of you. You are his company of friends. I may not get through this. I have no idea. I'll be on key or whatever. No guitar, right? Okay, bear with me. When I die, let them judge me by my company of friends. Let them know me for the footprints that I left upon the sand. Okay, that's not right. When I die, let them judge me by my company of friends. Let them know me as the footprints that I left upon the sand. Let them laugh for all the laughter. Let them cry for laughter's end. That's still not right, but I'm going to keep going. When I die, let them judge me by my company of friends. When I die, let them toast to all the things that I believe. Let them raise a glass to consciousness, not spill a drop for grief. Let the bubbles rise a million, let their tongues get light as thieves. When I die, let them toast to all the things that I believe. Susie, I'll bring my guitar over someday, and I'll do this right for you. But I think what you're getting is you're his company of friends. We're toasting to who he is, an amazing human being, but one of the most good, for me, one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met in my entire life.
I don't have any of those to share, but what I did hear, it was about the spirit that was in him, the light that was in him, and this is my belief, because I believe that he was blessed with the Holy Spirit. You know, the light that was in him, you know, not only shone in him, but it shined through him and touched so many people. That's what I hear today. That's what I hear today. You know, that we were all, you know, blessed by his presence. You know, it was no accident. You know, that's my belief. It's no accident. You know, God has a way of blessing us with gifts. He blessed us with the gift of burial, you know, during this time. And like I said, I was kind of hesitant in coming up here and letting you know, but God put it on my heart that I've got to tell you, you know, that God works miracles. He put Barry on this earth, as a miracle to everyone that he came in contact with. You know, the light of the Holy Spirit was so magnificent that it drew people, that it was attractive, that drew people to him, you know, in his life, and that he touched, that he was filled with compassion and love and understanding. You know, that's what I hear today, you know, from so many people about the incredible human being that was Barry. You know, but it was that spirit that was in him, he was blessed with, that he was a blessing on this earth to us, and God willing, we will see him again.
I met Barry 30 plus years ago when I first moved to Oregon from Los Angeles. And I'm sorry. Couldn't help but love that man. Anyway, I'm so graced to meet him and my best friend Susie, and he would lend you an ear every week. And we will all miss him forever. And I want to thank Elio for coming and supporting Susie and his family. Because he was one of the best men I think I had ever met in my life.
That he would, if he got upset with me, which was extremely rare, he would say, "I'm really kind of mad right now, could you please pass the butter?" Kind of like that, and so we'd have a conversation from there. And yeah, and oh, by the way, my sweater, mumble, right? Steve, where's Steve? So Barry and Steve, his brother, closest in age, they would be in the front seat talking to each other. And Karen, my sister-in-law, and I would be in the back seat. And Karen would lean over and she'd say, "Do you know what they're talking about?" And I'd say, "I have no idea." Because they would just be mumbling at each other. Who else do I want to thank? All of my family, on the sides of my family, for being here and helping me. For Erica, who has been the general manager of this shindig. And Greg, for being the MC. And if you feel like I didn't thank you and I needed to, could you stand up, please? Okay. Oh yeah, the band. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Jesse. Wink, wink, wink. Okay. As you can imagine, everybody asked me how I feel. Heather, you went through that. Marianne, you went through that. Debbie, you went through that. We have some people we've lost recently, and it's been pretty hard. And grieving is a very privately messy business. So I thank you, every single one, for giving me love and support and helping me through probably the most, what adjective is there? Time. Just the hardest time of my life. So, thank you, Cooper, Frankie, Grandpa's boys. I love you guys. So that's what I have to say. Thank you all. Have some fun. There's a playlist that Zach put together for us, and we're going to turn that on now. There's videos, pictures of slideshow of Barry. So stick around for that, and I don't know if there's more food out there.